Hello, hello, Studio 108 community. I'm so excited that you clicked in today. And I'm really excited to sit with my friend Holly Timberlake, who is an energy psychologist. Her area of work right now is in Cuyahoga Falls, but I know her from way back when she was up here more on the east side of the city of Cleveland. So it's good that talented people grow and expand and add to their tool list. So Holly's someone that I really respect for that. She's just a lifelong seeker, a lifelong practitioner, and really, really a lovely person. And I can't wait for you to meet her. And yeah, because we have something in the works and I want to share that. But first, let's say hello to Holly. Hi, love.
Hi, Tracy. Thank you. That is just, that's such a lovely and sweet introduction. Thank you for that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that it might have been like 0102 that I just knew of you and about you through other practitioners in your practice. And so when your name came forward as someone really for a conversation, I was really, really excited.
Yeah, good, good. Yeah, and when I found out that you were the one who had this center, which I knew nothing about when I first heard about it, I was like, I know that. I mean, I know that name. I kind of know that person. That's really exciting. So, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and Holly and I were talking a few moments ago just about community and how important community is to us, and how excited we are in these times that we're living right now, that people are appreciating collaborations, that people are appreciating each other as unique with their unique gifts and their unique talents, wanting to partner, but also like stepping forward with their voice in service to their community in such a way that we don't have to look for people way out in the distance. We can like kind of look around to our own community to provide us with the supports we need. And Holly is referring to the Light Wisdom and Wellness, which is my other business that I share with Dolores down the street. Maybe you've been into the EE system, but we're going to unpack that a little bit and talk about one of our collaborations that's coming up. So, Holly, share a little bit about your background, if you would.
So I've been a therapist, psychologist. I've been a therapist for numbers of decades. Um, and during that, I got my PhD, so I became a psychologist. And shortly after that, I started learning about EMDR, which at the time was a very new modality, therapeutic modality. And then I learned about something called tapping. And I was in a practice up in the east side of Cleveland called Mosaics, and someone there had been with a friend of mine, Robin Trainer, who had just learned about this tapping and had done a tapping session with this other person. And so they brought it into our retreat and we did it. And I said from the moment I first experienced it that I took to it like a duck takes to water. Like I was waiting for a modality that could, for me as a psychologist, help me really access the energetic level of our beings. And I was thrilled. I was thrilled about learning about it and about the way it transformed my clients' lives, it transformed my life, and it transformed my practice. So that was 1999. And at the time, although in the psychological world, it was quite scary for people often to use the word energy. I started calling myself an energy psychologist, like right off the bat.
Yeah, that
And
was courageous of you and also brilliant of you because like those seeds were planted in those years.
mhm.
One of the things that I remember, like through my own journey, is first of all, what a hot mess I was in
Mhm.
99, in 2001, in 2004, like what my life was like and what I was like. And without, like, if you hadn't had the courage to bring that forward and to offer that to people and your colleagues in your mosaics community weren't doing that, like my life trajectory would be completely different because those were really the practices that helped me heal.
Mhm.
And I don't, like, at the time I felt like, oh, everyone's been doing this and I'm catching up because I was such a mess. I had no idea that this was like a really innovative EMDR tapping, were really innovative things that were moving us from this mental talk therapy into something energetic and much more pragmatic. So could you take us through that little bridge of what happens
Mm-hmm.
from the thought to the lifestyle change or the behavior change?
You're asking really about the process, right? A little
Yeah.
bit more about the process of what we actually do. So the way I do it, and people, emphasize different things, but I have quite an emphasis on embodiment, like getting in touch with our body and being able to listen and open up to the wisdom from within, whether it's physical, whether it's higher dimensional, but going within to do that. So that actually really informs kind of how I do the tapping, because I really find that when people get in touch with what they're feeling or what their sensations are, their physical sensations are, then that's sort of the magic sauce, part of the magic sauce for being able to shift what is happening within our body and within our energy field. And so in with the particulars we're working with, we can do that very quickly, which is very, very shocking to people because, with people who are not familiar with it, sun's really coming in right now, but with people who are not familiar with it, we generally don't grow up with this awareness that we can upshift how we're feeling. We can bring ourselves back more into balance in a short amount of time with a few simple tools. And so that's revolutionary, actually. And it's very self-empowering. So, anyway, those are some of the things that really got me excited about it. But what we do is say, for example, someone there's a particular stressor in their life that's a repetitive thing that's really taking a lot of energy and time and real estate. And they want to be able to free themselves of that and just trying to talk themselves into it or think about it differently, you know, um, is getting perhaps less of a result than they're really hoping for, right? And so what we do is have the person like attune themselves. And sometimes I like to use the phrase time travel. So you take yourself back to that moment. And what happens, since, we most of us have heard that our nervous system doesn't really differentiate well between something happening in the 3D world and something we're imagining,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So we time travel ourselves back. And when there's still and it's a recurring, in this case, it's a recurring stressor. So we don't have to go very far back. We can feel that stress in our bodies, right? There's so much information we get when we do that. So we activate that. And once that's activated, it's activated through the whole system and the whole field, right? So then
Beyond your body. I see you gesturing, like beyond the body. Yeah.
beyond the body, right? Reach
Mhm.
your
Yeah.
arms out like this whole sphere, right? And so what we do is begin tapping as we're focusing on the discomfort, pairing it with often some version of loving ourselves deeply and unconditionally, right? And then we tap on meridian points and there are a couple different protocols. I think that the difference is very minor in the different protocols. But what we're doing is tapping on these different endpoints on these meridians. And as we go through, what happens is that we begin to just, in a very short amount of that short amount of time, begin to release the tension and release the pressure and the charge and what. And so, you go through it the first time. I mean, each pass through takes a matter of just a few minutes, right? And so you can go through one a couple times and then stop and check, like, what do I notice about how I'm feeling now? It's like, oh, I'm feeling a little calmer, I'm feeling a little, Maybe I notice I'm breathing a little better, for example. But now I'm really aware that I'm feeling angry, or I'm feeling this, or this is coming up, or I'm aware of this. And so then we can focus on that. It's like the next layer of the onion in this whole holographic moment, right? And so we work on that and bring that down. What's there now? What's there now? And in a very short amount of time, we can actually bring down a charge from, if we put it on a number system from 0 to 10, wherever it is pretty high on that, down to a zero. And the first time somebody experiences that, it's a little, like I said before, it's a little surprising because never been able to do that before. So that's a quick um, run through of the process. The points, many of the points are on the face. There's some on the upper chest, the side of the chest, and then we use points on the hands. Those are pretty much the points that are generally used.
And people tap themselves. It's just a little
People
gentle
tap
finger
themselves.
tap at
Right,
that certain like
right.
nerve spot.
Yeah. And, I think one thing to add is that I and most practitioners are tapping as well. So part of what's happening is that it's mirroring, like the person is like all these mirror neurons are being activated,
Yes.
right? And
Yes.
so at a neuronal level that's happening. At an energetic level, the two of us participating in this at the same time is elevating, or to use your, your word, enhancing the field, which increases the strength of the field to help the person upshift into a place that feels much better and they have much more access to, you know, like I said, their life force energy, which helps them feel happier, joyous, more joyous, more focused, more present in the moment, all those kinds of things.
All
Well,
those kinds of
and
things.
just one thing I want to say too, that one of the things that differentiates this from other, perhaps not all other things, but many other yeah, and many other techniques, practices, is that you can do it once. You can go through it once and bring it down to a zero, and then that issue doesn't come up for you again.
It is surprising. Like I am like cheesing, like I can't stop smiling, like I have to bite my cheeks because it is really exciting and powerful. And the word you used was self-empowering, which I think before we had practices like this, there wasn't much that was going to get you out of some of these like lowercase letters, PTSD, like these trauma patterns where
Mhm.
something would trigger and then you'd be caught in your vortex and you'd have all that kind of wasted, unpatterned energy that was really
Right,
limited you. We didn't really have anything. So
right.
it is really self-empowering to be able to do these practices on yourself with someone trusted and skilled and knowledgeable as you are. Like you said, that mirror and relationship is really important. But to come out of the victim consciousness, which I think is really thick in our culture.
Yes. Yes. Like and knowing, like having that experience that we can change how we are feeling. And most, a lot of people we unconsciously do it by shutting down, by distracting, by numbing out, those kinds of things. So those are the skill sets we have typically, right? But when we learn that we can actually, instead of downshifting in a way, kind of upshift in terms of vibrationally or in terms of the amount of positive energy we have access to learn that we can do that. And we can do it on our own. So we're talking so far about doing it with another person, right? Like in my practice, people doing it with me. And yet, I, for example, when I started tapping, I would say for 6 years, I tapped every day on something, and I continue. I mean, to this day, how many, 25, 26 years later, like something comes up and I am tapping on it and moving it through, whether I get charged, I get a little reactive, um, or I stumble across another limiting belief and it's like, I'm not carrying that one around anymore, right?
Right, right.
So that's my own experience, and that's been absolutely transformative. And there's lots of other experiences I could give about this, but I will tell you that in case anybody's interested, I'm reading this book right now by a woman named Lisa Forbes, who wrote a book called I Can Take It From Here.
Oh,
And she has an abuse history growing up in the Chicago projects, ended up in prison, um, and for some time, and came out and realized that she needed help, like psychologically. She'd been through it. She'd really, really been through it, and she needed help. And she stumbled onto tapping. And so she ends up writing this book about her experience and then stumbling across tapping and starting to use it. And she would, it's her own story. I won't go into it here, but every day she'd spend hours a day tapping and tapping. And she didn't have anybody else to go to, right? She went online on, videos and she turned herself around. I mean, let me say it this way, that she freed herself of so much, kind of like you were saying before, so much of what was holding her back and causing her to be reactive in terms of, a lot of fear, a lot of repeating patterns that are self-sabotaging, right? So, I mean, it's really powerful. So,
yeah, outstanding. I love that. And I love the way your face lights up when you talk about it. Like, yes, yes. It's like so
yeah.
much fun. It's so much fun just to have lived something and to know in your personal embodiment, in your personal field, the truth of it. And then to share that with with people is really exciting. And I have the note written for the book, so that'll be in the show notes if you guys want to
Okay.
come and take a look at it. I'd like to direct our conversation to your experience at the Energy Enhancement System, because I know you came in and spent
Yeah.
a couple hours resting in there. I'll just say briefly that we have at the Light Wisdom and Wellness, just a couple miles down the street in Brecksville, we have a 24-unit energy enhancement system, which creates a high frequency scalar wave biophoton healing field, energetic field in the room, and people rest in there, and people are also beginning to receive other kinds of treatments and services there, such as access bars, Reiki, sound healing, particular different kinds of channeling that folks are doing, and soon energy psychology. So like being in that particular energy field and then working with some of these strategies, I'd love to hear what your experience was like for yourself and kind of where you see potential in that.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I I need to get the light out of my eyes here.
um,
Yeah.
don't complain about sunshine in Cleveland. It's very risky.
Oh, well, that's true. I'm not I'm just like, but I kind of need to see what I'm doing here. So, um, yeah, I woke up woke up that morning. I don't think as I recall, I didn't sleep very well that night, and I didn't feel great coming in. And I'm like, oh gosh, in my mind, I'm gonna go talk to Tracy. I'm so excited about this. I didn't realize actually going into it that I was going to do the 2 hour there, and resting in it. And so I'm thinking, oh, just kind of, wishing that I was in much better shape going to have this conversation with you. So we had the conversation. The conversation went well. But I still was like, yeah, not feeling all that great. So we go in there and I'm in the space. So I had not slept. I think that there was something about my legs that was really bothering me. They felt really uncomfortable. I was a little edgy, just like a little grouchy, I felt like inside. And so I went in, and I think that I can't remember the exact word, but as I walked into the space, right away, I could feel, I think the word I used was smoothness,
Yes.
right? Yeah, I could just feel this, like I don't know, like velvet, but that doesn't even really describe it. But to me, it was noticeable. And so I walked in, found a chair, and got all comfortable and spent 2 hours in there. And I meditated while I was in there, and then just rested. I did some deep breathing and some of the ways doing some of my own breathing patterns. And um, I know you had said that some people can do a lot of almost like journeying or get a lot of downloads or intuition. And what happened for me was like, I had this whole series of things. By the time I walked out of there, like I knew all kinds of ways that I could do things in the, in that space. And like, it was just like this whole set of programs kind of emerged in whole, like I walked out of there and I felt fantastic. I was surprised. I mean, I really was surprised that going into it feeling challenged, emotionally, energetically, and physically, that I came out of it and felt light. My body felt really good. I was cheerful. I mean, it just was wonderful. And that, and then I was so excited about all the possibilities. So, because energy is my thing, and to find a place where energy also is your thing and you're coming from you're bringing a different energetic capacity, field strength, and the thought of integrating, merging these two and what's possible just was one of the most exciting things that I had experienced and come across in some time.
Yeah, and I think what's been fascinating for me, just in terms of having the space for about a year and a half now,
Mhm.
is that nothing compromises that machinery. That technology, that equipment holds the frequency,
Mm.
and it's
Mm.
uncompromising.
Oh.
It just
Hmm.
holds the frequency. And like
Hmm.
we can't necessarily do that yet. Like
Right.
our bodies can't necessarily do that yet. Like no matter how clean we eat, no matter how much we meditate, no matter how pure our thoughts,
Right.
we're still in this human experience and we're still navigating such a varied multidimensional experience that like when I walk in there, I'm like, still here, still doing it. Like I can count on it and it's reliable. And then I feel like to bring strategy into that is just really exciting because I'm going to get the support I need to really offer high level everything.
Hmm. Yeah, you're right about that. And when you say that, it's like for me thinking as a practitioner, like my focus had been I go into the field and then there's this field that is supporting what we're doing, right? And the field is affecting both of us. And if I'm working just with one other person, um, and so as it's affecting both of us, then we're adding to that field. And yet I am like, oh, right. But the field, what you're saying is the field supporting me, supporting my energy to be able to stay in a higher place, right? Because there is that fluctuation in
We're human
yeah, right, exactly.
and
And
we're,
there's
and we're supposed to be human.
right.
Yeah, like it's okay.
Right, that's right.
Okay to be
All the
human.
things that are happening are supposed to be happening, I guess, theoretically too.
Yes.
So, right? So,
Yes, we're
uh,
supposed to like wake up grumpy every once in a while. I mean, we're
right.
supposed to like we're really processing so much.
Oh my gosh.
We're
So,
processing
so much.
so much. So it would be almost suspicious to always feel great.
Oh, right, right, right. We can kind of mask that. We can kind of present more that way, and yet hide kind of, what's happening inside. And not only hide, but also not be aware.
Yeah.
I remember, oh my gosh, years ago taking a cognitive psychology class, and they had determined, and I don't remember the study of the details and how they could have figured this out yet, but that the brain actually, before information arrives, the brain has the capacity to choose what information it's going to bring in or not, right?
It's already energetically chosen by the time we think it.
Right. Well, but even before it comes in. right? But even,
Gotcha.
so much of the information that comes in, we don't even think, right? We're consciously aware of whatever percentage, right? 10% maybe, of what's happening, and the field, all the information that is in the field coming into us, and all the information we're sending back out into the field.
Yeah. Yeah. There isn't really yet an understanding of how sophisticated the human energetic system is.
Yeah,
Very sophisticated.
right.
Yeah, we're
Okay.
snazzy.
Yeah. Snazzy. I like it.
We're super snazzy. Well, I know we've talked about a lot of different ways to integrate your work and your practices, and to do that within the energy enhancement system room. But what we have coming up on April 6th, am I right? 7th? It's the Sunday.
Yeah, it's a Sunday. Well, keep
It's
talking.
the Sunday. You check for me. I
will.
think it must be the 6th. I think it's the Sunday because the 7th would be Monday.
Oh, it is. I just saw it somewhere on this written as the 7th.
All right.
Yes, it's the 6th.
It's the 6th. All right, I'll check the flyers and everything.
I'll check
The
mine.
email system should do my social media and my newsletters and stuff because it would be much more accurate. But welcome to my world. But it's Sunday the 6th. We're doing a day retreat, you guys. We're doing a self-care day retreat, and Dr. Holly is going to be doing a session of energy psychology. The whole day is just packed with really great opportunities for self-awareness and clearing and empowering and all of it. But what we want to talk about today is just what folks can expect in that time with you, because that field is going to hold, and facilitate the energy in a certain way. And then you're going to be sharing some of your interventions, breath work and tapping with people. Would you like to tell them a little bit more about that?
Yeah, happy to. So what I want to start out with is what I often start out with clients, and as I begin to work with a new client, and it's about balancing our energetic foundation. And so I use a combination of what we could think of as energy medicine and energy psychology techniques that have been pulled from numbers of different places that help people, if we think in a 3D way, neurological way, kind of help people's nervous systems to become much more balanced and resilient. Like as we become more balanced and more grounded, we are inherently or automatically more resilient. And so there are about 6 or 7 of them that I take people through. And doing these exercises helps strengthen this foundation, and it lasts for, like generally 4 or 5. If you don't do them again, it lasts for about 4 or 5 days without much shift. And so that's a pretty remarkable thing. I give people, if I have access to your emails, I'll give people then videos that they can then continue to do these exercises. It's a 14-minute video. And that will give them the ability to continue to do this with me. And it's so we start out with that. And then I will be showing people some simple, what we refer to as emotional first aid techniques, so that as you're going through your life and things happen, you have these simple little tools to help yourself navigate them in the moment, right? And and they're wonderful, they're wonderful. I'll be giving everybody the one that I just find to be the absolute best in so many situations, and sharing some others, including.
It's 2025, so out with it, right?
That's right.
Offer it up, let's go.
We need it now.
We need it now.
Exactly. And then I think that we will have some time to walk people through, so they have this experience, if they haven't, of walking through the tapping sequence, just an introduction to that sequence with something that is causing them some stress, and they would like to be able, it's like, wow, if I could let go of being upset about this or challenged by this, I just feel like I'd have so much more access to my own life force energy, I'd feel better, I'd feel calmer, I'd feel whatever. So that's my intention, is to bring those three things into that retreat.
I love that. I love that. And it sounds like, I know you work individually with people where there's a lot of like sharing and talking about it, but this will be more of a group situation. So people can come in feeling like they don't need to expose their whole heart. That
Right,
they're,
right.
yeah.
Excellent point. Thank you for making that point. I've done a lot of this tapping in groups in community. And I have a way of doing it. It's not a therapy group. It's you thinking, being aware inside yourself. You're not sharing with anybody else what it is you're working on. So 12 people in the room working on 12 totally different kinds of things.
Mhm.
And I'm using language that's a little more general, but that helps you still, even though I consciously am not aware of what anybody's working on. I use language to help them to go through it and to
Sure.
release it. So yeah, it's a group situation. So you get also the strength of the group, right? And that group field in the bigger field, like field to thin field to thin field. And yet you're doing important work and it's private to you. So
Yeah.
it's
And
this.
I know that there's a lot of sentiment now, really appreciating community. Like this is like swinging back kind of to where we started. Like healing happens through connection, healing happens through community. It's not it, like sometimes we go to a therapist and we work directly, and sometimes we read a book at home alone or listen to a podcast. But these ways of just having safe places for us just to have a personal embodied experience and to move ourselves forward in these ways is really, it's rich. It makes a nice community. It makes a lovely Sunday that you can kind of put your life on pause and take time for yourself and make headway in, and gain strategies and skills that you can use on your own later. And then, meet some professionals that might be valuable to tap into later.
Yeah. Yeah, I think to support that, I would say that when we are in person with each other, we do we create a field together. And, to some extent, we can do that virtually, obviously. Um, and yet when we are in the same space together, there's something very powerful and beautiful, not just powerful. I mean, it's great that it's powerful, but it's beautiful and it is love-filled. And especially in an environment where it's a higher vibrational environment, so that people are able to access that more unconditional love within the group, but also within themselves. So, or even reach towards it, right? And that often is a challenge that we have,
Mhm.
um, is that ability to really, or ability to really open up to this compassionate inner relationship with ourselves.
Yeah.
And the more we do it, the more we discover how magical and transformative it is in terms of our experience in life, and our ability then to show up as the person that more and more as the person that we really want to be, and create that community, because we're all now growing that capacity to be together in ways um, that is really expanded, I think. So,
100%. And kudos to all of us and those of you listening, because even listening to this says that, like, it's evidence that you're in alignment for something moving forward in a more positive direction. So even if you can't come that day, your time spent listening to the conversation is really valuable. There are plenty of forces that want to pull us under, that want to fill us with fear, that want us to look at each other suspiciously. So yes, yes, to the opportunity to find a little glimmer of that love and that connection, to sit next to someone and just to glance at them and to know that they too cry for their children and they too want, a better world for everyone. It's really valuable and important. It's really
Yeah.
important.
And to your point, not to that point, but the earlier point that for everyone listening to this, whether you're listening, well, you're going to be listening after it's recorded. So like it's just Tracy and I right now. But so whenever you're listening to it, you're also entering into and participating. And actually, this may sound way too woo-woo, but creating, like you're already creating right now at the time and the moment, Tracy, you and I are doing this, the people who are going to be listening to it are, in that sense, beyond time and space, participating in the creation of this and in the field of it. And as you were saying that, I could feel, it's almost like I could feel somebody, driving down the road in their car, listening. And what came up for me was like, I believe it'd be great to hear from people once they listen to this, but I believe that really even listening to this conversation between the two of us is going to be elevating in ways that might surprise people.
Indeed. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love it. Okay, I knew we could chat for like the longest time, but we do have to
Right.
wrap today and put a little stamp of peace on the end of our time. So in the show notes beneath, you guys will find all the details, including Dr. Holly's website and a link to reach her and to follow her and to just stay in the conversation around this. Yeah, I couldn't be offering our community anyone more experienced and compassionate and capable. So I'm super, super grateful for the work you do, and so lovely that you're close to us and weaving, into our story here at the Light, Wisdom, and Wellness. So,
and I want to say to you that and I've said this before, that I am so grateful to the two of you for creating that, for taking the risk, for having the courage, right, to step out and to bring something to Northeast Ohio that is really beyond what most people understand to be possible. That what you have brought is a gift. I know, I mean, from my own studies, from my own experience, from my own travels, that what you have brought is just powerful and important, and it is a huge gift to us. So I really thank you, and I am thrilled.
Yay.
I'm thrilled. Yeah.
All right. Well, we will see each other on Sunday, April 6th. And to the community listening, thank you so much for following. Go with many blessings and remember who you are. Namaste.
Stay.
Where's our recording button?